Jerusalem in the Quran, abridged for internal circulation on the Internet. Imran N. Hossein. Published by Masjid Dar al-Quran, Long Island, New York, USA. Preface to the Internet edition. Since the eminent psychologist, Professor Malik Badri wrote as foreword to the second edition of this book, during Ramadan 1423 November 2002, more momentous events have taken place. Notably, we have witnessed the invasion of Iraq, in the heartland of the Muslim world and historical capital of the Abbasid Caliphate. Evidence continues to be made public indicating that the reasons for this illegal invasion were largely mere fabrications and lies. No weapons of mass destruction, no link with Al-Qaeda, and now no democracy with elected representatives as promised, but an American imperial occupation of a formerly independent Muslim country. However, the occupation has exhilarated the Israeli Zionists, since they have stabilized their borders and prepared for the next phase of the softening up of Iraq, for eventual Israeli domination through its proxy, the US, who plan to build permanent military bases on Iraqi soil. At the same time, the international financiers, the US military-industrial complex, and other capitalist establishment groups are happily being fed with gigantic development contracts.
Meanwhile, the US has a free guzzle of Iraq's oil resources, soon to be placed in hock to pay off mountainous debts caused by a planned usurious approach. May Allah prevent it.
To the rebuilding of Iraq's infrastructure, intentionally destroyed by the invading forces. Their objective now is to get Iraq into a grinding national pattern of debt that will lock it into the hidden control of the international financiers. As has happened to another successfully Israeli-dominated Muslim state, modern Turkey. Developments in the world today show more clearly than ever that events and declared stratagems of certain groups are bringing the world into overlap with the predictions contained in the ahadith of our beloved Prophet Muhammad P.B.U.H. regarding the end period of the world. The present and the predicted are merging together as one, in what is becoming an ever clearer pattern for discerning minds, that we are all, willingly or unwillingly, part of Allah's divine plan for the final scene currently showing before our very eyes here on earth. As Sheikh Imran has stated, this book could not have been written until this era, since it is only over the past few years that the concealed plans of the Jews have come so clearly into view that few can doubt that there is a Jewish plan for world domination. As Henry Ford, the father of the modern automobile, commented in 1921 about the amazing protocols of the elders of Zion, whose veracity has been challenged by the Jews, that they fit in with what is going on. They have fitted the world situation up to this time. They fit now. Such comments would be even more fitting today. Oppression against world humanity, with the main focus on Muslims, in Palestine, Bosnia, Chechnya, Kashmir, Albania, and now the Arab heartland, has been building and is now spreading to such an extent that one can be confident that Muslims are the main target. The positioning of the US military on Iraqi Muslim soil is intended to consolidate the US Israeli position in their campaign against Muslims and Muslim states. Unfortunately, the type of uncoordinated response from some oppressed Muslims, involving, in too many cases, attacks against uninvolved civilians and children not responsible for the oppression, has blurred the view of world opinion, with many turning away from the fact that the Muslims are the main targets of the oppression. In fact, such response has been used, often successfully, to demonstrate that it is the Jews themselves who are the victims. It is of great benefit, therefore, that Sheikh Imran Hossein's scholarship has made it possible for the message of this age to be witnessed. Muslims and enlightened non-Muslims can only wonder, overawed by the veracity of the Quran and the Ahadith in foretelling these events. Thus, it is with gratitude that we turn to Sheikh Imran for his penetrating analysis of these sources and their application to present-day happenings. Thinkers can no longer be accused of falsely believing conspiracy theories of a Zionist or Jewish plot for domination of the Middle East and the world. These plans are acknowledged by us and British journalists and the conspirators themselves, for example the so-called neocons. In published documents, for example their plan for the new American century. Con is an apt term for these plotters, since they weave their web with lies and deceit. Sheikh Imran points out in masterful fashion that Israel is just using the US and may eventually bring about its downfall, most probably by a strike on the international standing of the US paper dollar, which will shatter confidence in the national currency reserves of countries and in international share markets. The international banking system will then come more and more under control of the international financiers and their cohorts. The breadth and depth of Sheikh Imran's analysis is shown in the elucidation of the following key issues: how the Jews themselves are deceiving and being themselves willingly deceived into believing that their return to the Holy Land is part of God's favor on them, whereas His promise for the inhabitants of Palestine is for His true believing servants only. The misguidance of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad and his followers. The key roles of the Sephardic Jews, on the one hand descendants of Prophet Isaac, peace be upon him, and the Jews of European origin on the other. The identity and the relationship of Gog and Magog, noted biblically and Quranically, in connection with the world order and future events. The scenario of events leading up to and following the birth of the false Messiah, the Dajjal. Tracing the movement of Dajjal between the historical, current, and future superpowers, over time and in different spatial dimensions. Two key areas for Muslims to be aware of and avoid: 1. Usurious transactions riba, and 2. Support for secular government shirk, and a plan for enlightened Muslims to prepare and work for the future, to anticipate the unfolding of the predicted events. Some of Sheikh Imran's views are his personal views and explanations, based however, on a broad scholarship and Islamic intuitive thinking. They are not all written in stone, and are subject to verification by events. As Sheikh Imran has repeatedly stated in the book, he is prepared to follow a different viewpoint if it is found to be a better and more correct explanation of the source materials. This edition of the book has been condensed from the second edition, reviewed and specially prepared for distribution on the internet. We hope it may thereby reach a wider audience of thoughtful Muslims. Inshallah. We point out to readers that the Arabic text of the verses of the Quran have been removed from this internet edition. Kindly note that the only Quran is the Arabic Quran. Consequently, the English translations of the Quranic verses in our text cannot be taken as being the Quran itself. May Allah Ta'ala reward Sheikh Imran for his elucidation of this critical subject for all enlightened readers, Muslims as well as non-Muslims. September 2003, 1424H. Forward. Jerusalem in the Quran is a great book that thrilled and delighted me in a number of ways. I am surprised that such a meticulously documented book had to wait for such a long time before seeing the light, whose only offense is that they happen to live in a country considered by the Jews to be their promised Holy Land. The Zionists have continuously referred to distorted scriptures from the Torah and other biblical material to justify their atrocious behavior and to motivate the Jews to establish a state of Israel that extends from the Nile to the Euphrates, with Jerusalem as its capital. For example, David Ben-Gurion, the first Prime Minister of Israel, is quoted to have said, "The Bible is our deed to the land of Israel." Muslim scholars, on the other hand, have largely failed in refuting Zionist claims from authenticated historical and religious sources, and have also failed to accomplish their religious responsibility in clearly documenting this question from the Holy Quran and the blessed Hadith of our beloved Prophet Buh. As far as I know, whatever is written on this subject is rather superficial and emotionally tainted, or simply stating facts in a cool manner. May Allah Ta'ala reward Brother Imran Hossein for writing this scholarly document, which will indeed fill up this intellectual and religious gap and serve as an academic reference to Muslims in all parts of the world. As I write this introduction, this book that was published only this year is already being translated to Arabic and Bosnian. In a short time, it will be rendered into other European languages and to all the other tongues of the Islamic world. It must be reported, however, that the importance of writing a book about the Holy Land in the Quran have not escaped the vision of far-sighted and creative Muslim thinkers such as Dr. Khalim Siddiqui, founder-president of the Muslim Institute for Research and Planning, and Professor Shahid Ismail al-Faruqi. I am surprised at the vision of the former scholar who asked Imran Hossein to write this book as early as 1974. He urged him, saying that Jerusalem is the key to understanding the historical process of the Middle East and the world at large. Sheikh Imran successfully accomplished this task after 27 years. Though seemingly late, but it has come at the right time in which the whole world is being shocked by Jenin and what happened in Sabra and Shatila. Ismail al-Faruqi actually put this issue in writing in his book, Islam and the Problem of Israel, that the author referred to. He strongly stated that Israel poses a greater danger to Muslims than the Euro-Christian crusades of the Middle Ages or the Euro-colonialism of modern times. Israel, he wrote, is neither of these, but that it is both and more, much more. He therefore urged Arabs and Muslims not to accept the Jewish state as an integral part of the world nations of Asia and Africa. He also incited Muslim scholars to investigate this issue in depth. I'm sure that if both of these great Muslim thinkers were alive, they would have acclaimed this classic book as what they have aspired for. I am amazed by Imran's style of writing. Though Jerusalem in the Quran is a meticulously written thesis combining religious and historical documents with recent political events and penetrating interpretations from the Quran and Hadith, it runs like a story. Once you begin reading it, it is hard to stop. This is the general quality of a novel. The person would read it once and throw the book away, but not that of a serious, thought-provoking dissertation like the book that Brother Sheikh Imran published. It is a reference that one needs to keep and reread whenever the subject is to be researched. I believe that this eloquence of the Sheikh must be the result of a natural gift that has interacted with his indefatigable work as a preacher and diyah, and the divine blessings for his sincerity. Finally, in spite of the seemingly depressing situation of the Muslims in general and the Palestinians in particular, reading the book would certainly give one a warm surge of optimism about our future, a bright light that shines at the end of our long, dark tunnel of history. We are living at the end of time. This is the age in which the prophecies of the Holy Quran and the blessed Hadith are unfolding right before our very eyes, to prove to humanity the truthfulness of our faith. Exactly as our prophet told us, we have seen the barefooted poor shepherds of sheep and goats in the Arab Peninsula competing with each other in building higher and higher skyscrapers. And we have witnessed the Muslims exploding in numbers, but weakening in character and subdued by their love of this dunya and their fear of death, thus confirming the authenticated hadith. And exactly as our prophet told us, the strong enemies of Islam are now devouring our countries as though they were a hungry group, invited to a large cauldron of food. And as Allah Ta'ala himself told us in his revealed Holy Quran, the children of Israel, who had been scattered all over the earth during their diaspora, have returned to the Holy Land. And as recorded in the Quran, they have indeed committed much corruption, and have become powerful and elated with mighty arrogance. Just as we have seen these incidents as though we were watching a horror movie, we will indeed see its imminent happy ending. That was prophesied to us in the Quran and the sayings of our prophet. The Muslims will wake up from their slumber, and the Jews will receive their promised divine punishment. The Zionist state will be destroyed, and whatever they have built will be razed to the ground. The book gives a detailed, beautifully written exposition of these episodes, with brilliant interpretations from the Holy Quran and Sunnah. Though some may differ with him with respect to his interpretations of some of the Quranic verses or the blessed prophetic sayings, No one would fail to appreciate his penetrative thought and his spiritual depth. I therefore recommend the book very much to scholars and laity. Malik Badri, Dean, International Institute of Islamic Thought and Civilization, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Jerusalem in the Quran. By Imran N. Hossein. Part 1. Chapter 1. Introduction. Proofs have now come to you from your Lord. If any is capable of seeing and recognizing them, it will be for the good of his own soul. And if any is blind to them, it will be to his own harm. And I am not here to watch over you. Quran, Al-An'am 6-104. The Quran explains all things, including the destiny of Jerusalem. The Quran has declared that its primary function is to explain all things. And we have sent down to thee, O Muhammad, the book the Quran, which explains all things. Quran, Al-Nahl, 1689. Since the Quran has made the above declaration, the implication is that it must be capable of explaining that strangest, most mysterious and most inexplicable of all events ever to have occurred in the entire history of mankind. An event that is still unfolding, but has already witnessed the following: the final success of an essentially godless secular Europe in liberating the Holy Land in August 1917, this being achieved after a sustained Euro-Christian effort, which had commenced almost 1,000 years earlier with the Crusades. Why would a secularized and essentially godless Europe choose to persist in pursuing Christian Europe's 1,000-year-old obsession of liberating the Holy Land? And why would European Christians, having embraced Christianity more than 1,000 years ago, be the only Christians who would ever be obsessed with desire to liberate the Holy Land? The Euro-Jewish success in restoring the ancient state of Israel, after it was destroyed by Allah Most High more than 2,000 years ago. This success was made possible through the active assistance extended by the same secular Europe. Why would a secular Europe be so obsessed with assisting Euro-Jews in the restoration of a religious state founded more than 2,000 years earlier by prophets David and Solomon? And why would Euro-Jews be the only Jews obsessed with desire to restore the state of Israel? The return of the Israelite Jews, the non-European Jews, to the Holy Land, after they had been expelled from that Holy Land by Allah Most High, and had lived for 2,000 years in a strangely scattered diaspora. The European Jews brought the Israelite Jews back to the Holy Land, but did not themselves return to the Holy Land, since they were never there at any time before. They simply settled in the Holy Land. Why would a European people convert to Judaism and then be obsessed with the mission of liberating the Holy Land and bringing the Israelite Jews back to that Holy Land, by hook or by crook? All of these things, which appear so strange and baffling to the world, appear to most Jews to validate the Jewish claim to truth. This is so, since they appear to fulfill the divine promise made to the Jews that Allah Most High would send to them a prophet, who would be known as the Messiah, Arabic, Al-Masih, and who would deliver to them all of the above and even more.